Maria Santos woke up at 5 in the morning every day. The small alarm clock next to her bed made a soft beeping sound. She turned it off quickly so it would not wake up her daughter Sophia, who was still sleeping in the bed next to hers. Their tiny apartment had only one bedroom, so they shared everything. Maria got out of bed and walked quietly to the small kitchen. She made a cup of coffee and sat at the old wooden table. The table had scratches and marks from years of use, but it was clean. Maria always kept everything clean. That was her job, and she was very good at it. She looked out the small window at the city. The sun was just starting to come up. The tall buildings looked gray and cold in the early morning light. Maria had lived in this city for 8 years. Now, she came here from a small town far away, looking for a better life for herself and Sophia. Sophia was only a baby then. Now, she was 8 years old and very smart. She went to school every day and worked hard on her homework. Maria was proud of her daughter. Sophia could speak English much better than Maria could. Sometimes Sophia helped Maria understand things that other people said. Maria finished her coffee and went to get dressed. She put on her work clothes, a simple blue uniform with her name tag that said Maria in black letters. She had 3 uniforms, just like this one. She washed them every night and hung them up to dry. They were always clean and neat. At 6:30, Maria woke up Sophia. The little girl opened her big brown eyes and smiled at her mother. Sophia had the same dark hair as Maria, but her eyes were brighter. They were full of hope and dreams. Maria kissed her daughter's forehead. "Good morning, my little angel," Maria said in Spanish. She always spoke Spanish with Sophia at home. It was important that Sophia remember where she came from. Sophia got up and got ready for school. She was very good at taking care of herself. She brushed her teeth, washed her face, and put on her school clothes. Maria made breakfast for both of them. Toast with jam and a glass of milk for Sophia. Just coffee for Maria. "Mama, can I come with you to work today after school?" Sophia asked. She asked this question almost every day. "Yes, Mia." "You can do your homework in the lobby like always," Maria answered. She was happy that Sophia wanted to be with her, but she also worried. The office building where Maria worked was full of important people. Rich people. People who dressed in expensive clothes and talked about things that Maria did not understand. Maria worked at the Grandview office complex. It was the biggest office building in the downtown area. 20 floors of offices, conference rooms, and important businesses. The building was made of glass and steel. It was very modern and very expensive. Maria cleaned the offices on the 15th floor. At 7:30, Maria walked Sophia to school. The school was 6 blocks away from their apartment. They walked together every morning and every afternoon. Maria held Sophia's hand as they crossed the busy streets. The city was full of cars and noise, but Maria was used to it now. "Have a good day at school, Mia. Learn everything you can," Maria told Sophia at the school gate. "I will, Mama. I love you," Sophia said and gave her mother a big hug. Maria watched Sophia walk into the school building. Her daughter's backpack was almost as big as she was, but Sophia carried it proudly. She walked with her head up and her shoulders straight. Maria smiled. Sophia was going to have a better life than Maria had. That was why Maria worked so hard. After dropping Sophia at school, Maria took the bus to work. The bus was always crowded in the morning. People were going to their jobs just like Maria, but most of them wore nice suits and carried briefcases. They looked at their phones and talked about meetings and business deals. Maria sat quietly in the back of the bus and looked out the window. The Grandview office complex was in the middle of downtown. It was surrounded by other tall buildings and busy streets. When Maria first got the job there 3 years ago, she was scared. The building was so big and fancy. She was afraid she would not be good enough, but Maria was a hard worker. She learned quickly. She was always on time and never missed a day of work unless Sophia was sick. The other cleaning ladies liked her. They were all women from other countries. Just like Maria, they helped each other and shared stories about their families. Maria's supervisor was Mrs. Rodriguez, she was also from Maria's country, but she had been in the city for 20 years. Mrs. Rodriguez spoke perfect English and wore nice clothes. She was kind to Maria and gave her good advice. "You work hard, Maria," Mrs. Rodriguez told her. "Keep doing what you are doing, and good things will happen." Every day, Maria cleaned the offices on the 15th floor. There were 12 offices and 2 conference rooms. Each office belonged to a different person. Some of the people who worked there were nice to Maria. They said good morning and thank you when they saw her. Others acted like she was invisible. Maria did not mind. She understood that she was just the cleaning lady to them, but she took pride in her work. She made sure every desk was clean, every trash can was empty, and every window was spotless. The offices always looked perfect when she was done. At 3 o'clock every afternoon, Maria finished her work. She had 1 hour before Sophia got out of school. Sometimes she used this time to buy groceries or run errands, but most days she just sat in the lobby of the Grandview office complex and waited. The lobby was huge and fancy. The floors were made of shiny marble. There were expensive paintings on the walls and big comfortable chairs. A large fountain in the center made a peaceful sound as water fell from one level to another. Maria liked to sit and listen to the water. At 4 o'clock, Maria walked to Sophia's school to pick her up. Sophia was always waiting at the gate with her backpack and a big smile. They walked back to the office building together. Sophia would sit in the lobby and do her homework while Maria finished her evening work. The evening shift was different from the morning shift. Maria had to clean the common areas, the lobby, the bathrooms, and the hallways. This took about 2 hours. Sophia was very patient. She sat in one of the big chairs and worked on her homework. She was quiet and well-behaved. She never caused any trouble. Some of the people who worked late in the building got used to seeing Sophia there. A few of them even said hello to her. Sophia always smiled and said hello back in perfect English. She was polite and respectful, just like Maria had taught her. This was their routine. Every day was the same. Maria worked hard, Sophia studied hard, and they took care of each other. Maria was saving money for Sophia's future. She wanted Sophia to go to college someday. She wanted her daughter to have choices that Maria never had. Life was not easy, but it was good. Maria had a job, Sophia was healthy and doing well in school, and they had each other. Maria asked God every night to keep them safe and to help Sophia achieve her dreams, but Maria did not know that everything was about to change. She did not know that one small moment would turn their quiet, peaceful life upside down. She did not know that tomorrow would be different from all the other tomorrows she had planned. Tuesday started like every other day. Maria woke up at 5 in the morning and made coffee. Sophia got ready for school and ate her breakfast. They walked to school together, holding hands and talking about Sophia's spelling test. "I studied all the words, Mama," Sophia said proudly. "I know how to spell responsibility and imagination and all the hard ones." "You are so smart, Maya." "I am proud of you," Maria replied, squeezing her daughter's hand. After dropping Sophia at school, Maria took the bus to work. The morning went by as usual. She cleaned all 12 offices on the 15th floor. She emptied trash cans, wiped down desks, and made sure everything was perfect. The people who worked in the offices were busy with their meetings and phone calls. Around 11 o'clock, Maria noticed a new person in one of the offices. He was a tall man with dark hair and an expensive suit. He was talking loudly on his phone and seemed angry about something. Maria had never seen him before, but she cleaned around him quietly and tried not to disturb him. The man looked at Maria like she was bothering him. Even though she was just doing her job, he did not say thank you or good morning. He just stared at her with cold eyes until she finished cleaning his office and left. Maria felt uncomfortable, but she did not think much about it. Some people were just not friendly. She had learned to ignore them and focus on her work. The rest of the morning went smoothly. Maria finished her work at 3 o'clock and went to the lobby to wait. She sat in her usual spot near the fountain and listened to the peaceful sound of the water. The lobby was busy with people coming and going. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry. At 4 o'clock, Maria walked to Sophia's school. Sophia was waiting at the gate with a big smile on her face. She was holding a paper with a gold star sticker on. Mama, look, I got a perfect score on my spelling test," Sophia said excitedly. "Oh, Sophia, I'm so proud of you." Maria hugged her daughter. "You worked so hard for this." They walked back to the Grandview office complex together. Sophia was happy and chatty. She told Maria about her day at school, about the book she was reading, and about her friend Jessica, who had invited her to a birthday party. When they got to the building, Sophia went to her usual spot in the lobby. She sat in one of the big leather chairs and took out her homework. She had math problems to solve and a book to read for English class. Sophia was very organized. She always did her homework in the same order every day. Maria went upstairs to start her evening work. She had to clean the bathrooms on every floor, vacuum the carpets in the hallways, and make sure the lobby was spotless. It was a lot of work, but Maria was used to it. The building was quieter in the evening. Most people had gone home to their families. Only a few people worked late. Maria could hear the sound of typing and phone calls coming from some of the offices as she worked around. 5:30, Maria was cleaning the bathrooms on the 10th floor when she heard the elevator doors open. She could hear footsteps and voices in the hallway. The building was getting busier as people started to leave for the day. Downstairs in the lobby, Sophia was working on her math homework. She was good at math, but some problems were hard. She was trying to solve a word problem about trains and distances. She bit her pencil and thought carefully about the numbers. The lobby was starting to fill up with people leaving work. They walked quickly toward the exits, talking on their phones or checking their watches. Sophia was used to this. Every evening, the quiet lobby became busy for about an hour as people went home. Sophia looked up from her homework and watched the people walking by. She liked to observe them. There were men in dark suits carrying briefcases, women in high heels and nice dresses. They all looked important and busy. Sophia wondered what kinds of jobs they had and what they did all day in their offices. At 6 o'clock, one of the elevators opened and the tall man in the expensive suit came out. It was the same man Maria had seen in the office that morning. He was talking loudly on his phone again. His voice echoed in the lobby. "I don't care what the client says," he was saying into his phone. "We're not changing the contract now. They can take it or leave it." The man walked toward the front doors of the building. He seemed angry and frustrated. His face was red and he was walking fast. As he passed the reception desk, he reached into his pocket to get his car keys, but the keys were not in his pocket. He stopped walking and checked his other pockets. Nothing. He looked confused and annoyed. He ended his phone call and looked around the lobby. The man walked back to the elevator and went upstairs to check his office. Sophia watched him go. She could tell he was upset about something. A few minutes later, he came back down. He still did not have his keys. The man went to the security desk and talked to the guard. Sophia could not hear what they were saying, but the man was gesturing with his hands and looked frustrated. The security guard shook his head. He had not seen any keys. Sophia went back to her homework. She had finished the math problems and was starting to read her book. It was a story about a girl who lived on a farm with her grandmother. Sophia liked stories about families and adventures. 20 minutes later, the elevator opened again and the man came out. This time, he looked even more angry. His face was red and his hands were shaking. He walked quickly toward the reception desk. As he walked past Sophia's chair, something fell out of his jacket pocket. It hit the marble floor with a jingling sound. Sophia looked down and saw a set of car keys. They had landed right next to her chair. The keys were beautiful. They had a silver keychain with the logo of an expensive car company. The metal was shiny and new. There were 3 keys on the ring and a small remote control for the car. Sophia looked at the man, but he had not noticed that his keys had fallen. He was still walking toward the reception desk. Sophia could see that he was very upset. She wanted to help him. Sophia picked up the keys and looked at them more closely. They were heavy and felt expensive. The keychain had intricate designs carved into the silver. Sophia had never seen anything so fancy. She turned the keys over in her small hands, admiring the craftsmanship. The man was now at the reception desk, talking to the receptionist. His voice was loud and angry. "I've lost my car. Keys somewhere in this building," he was saying. "Someone needs to help me find them right now." Sophia stood up from her chair. She wanted to walk over to the man and give him his keys. She was proud that she had found them. She knew he would be happy and grateful, but as Sophia took her first step toward the reception desk, holding the keys in her hand, the man turned around. He saw her walking toward him with his keys in her small hands. The man's eyes went wide. His face turned even redder than before. For a moment he just stared at Sophia. Then something changed in his expression. His surprise turned to anger. His confusion turned to suspicion. "Hey!" the man shouted across the lobby. His voice was so loud that everyone in the lobby stopped what they were doing and looked at him. "What are you doing with my keys?" Sophia stopped walking. She was confused by his tone. She had expected him to be happy, but he sounded angry. She looked down at the keys in her hands and then back at the man. "I found them," Sophia said quietly. Her voice was small in the big lobby. "They fell out of your pocket." But the man was not listening. He was walking towards Sophia now, his eyes fixed on the keys in her hands. Other people in the lobby were watching. Some of them looked curious. Others looked uncomfortable. Sophia held out the keys toward the man. She wanted to give them to him so he would not be angry anymore, but something in his expression scared her. He looked at her like she had done something wrong. The man stopped in front of Sophia. He was very tall, and Sophia had to look up at him. His shadow fell over her, making her feel even smaller. The beautiful lobby suddenly felt cold and unfriendly. "Give me those keys right now," the man said. His voice was low and threatening. Sophia immediately held out the keys. "I was bringing them to you," she said. "I saw them fall." The man snatched the keys from her hands. But instead of saying thank you, he continued to stare at her with angry eyes. Sophia did not understand what was happening. She had only tried to help. More people had gathered in the lobby now. They formed a loose circle around Sophia and the man. Some of them were whispering to each other. Sophia felt scared and confused. She wanted her mother. The man looked around at all the people watching. Then he looked back at Sophia. His face was getting redder and redder. Sophia could see that he was very, very angry. "You little thief," the man said loudly. "You were trying to steal my keys." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. "No," she whispered. "I was helping you. They fell down." But the man was not listening to her explanation. He had made up his mind about what he thought had happened. And what happened next would change everything for Sophia, for Maria, and for everyone who was watching in that fancy lobby. The man's voice got louder and angrier. Sophia took a step back, her small body trembling. She had never been yelled at like this before. The tears in her eyes began to fall down her cheeks. "You were stealing my keys," the man shouted again. More people in the lobby stopped what they were doing to watch. Some came closer to see what was happening. Others stayed far away but turned their heads to look. "I wasn't stealing," Sophia said through her tears. "They fell down. I picked them up to give them back to you." The man laughed, but it was not a nice laugh. It was cold and mean. "You expect me to believe that? A little girl like you just happened to find my expensive car keys?" Sophia nodded her head. "Yes, sir. I was sitting right there." She pointed to the big leather chair where she had been doing her homework. Her backpack was still there, and her math book was open on the small table next to the chair. The man looked at where Sophia was pointing, but he did not seem to care. He looked back at her with angry eyes. "I don't believe you," he said. "Kids like you are always looking for trouble, always trying to take things that don't belong to them." Sophia did not understand what the man meant by kids like you. She was just a kid who went to school and did her homework. She was a good kid. Her mother always told her to be honest and kind to everyone. "Please, sir," Sophia said quietly. I was just trying to help you. I saw you looking for your keys. But the man was not listening. He was getting more and more angry. His face was red and he was breathing hard. The other people in the lobby were watching him too now. Some of them looked uncomfortable with how angry he was getting. "Don't lie to me," the man said, pointing his finger at Sophia. "I know what I saw. You had my keys in your hands. You were probably planning to take them home with you?" Sophia shook her head hard. No, no, no. I would never steal anything. My mama taught me never to take things that are not mine. When Sophia mentioned her mother, the man's expression changed again. He looked even angrier than before. "Your mother?" he said. "Where is your mother?" "What kind of mother leaves her child alone in a place like this?" "My mama is working," Sophia said. She was crying harder now. "She cleans the offices upstairs. She is working very hard." The man looked around the lobby at all the people watching. Then he looked back at Sophia. "So your mother is one of the cleaning ladies?" he said loudly, making sure everyone could hear him. "That explains everything." Sophia did not understand what he meant. She was proud of her mother. Maria worked very hard and was very good at her job. Sophia did not understand why the man was talking about her mother in such a mean way. "There is nothing wrong with cleaning," Sophia said bravely, even though she was scared. "My mama works hard to take care of me." The man laughed his mean laugh again. "Hard work?" he said. "You call pushing a mop around hard work? Real people have real jobs, important jobs. Jobs that matter." Some of the people watching looked shocked at what the man was saying. A few women in the crowd whispered to each other and shook their heads. But no one said anything to stop him. Sophia felt her heart breaking. This man was saying terrible things about her mother, and she did not know how to make him stop. She wished Maria would come downstairs right now and take her home. "My mama's job is important," Sophia said through her tears. "She makes everything clean and nice for everyone who works here." "Clean and nice?" the man said sarcastically. "Anyone can push a mop around. It doesn't take skill or education. It's not a real job." Sophia's tears were falling faster now. She had never heard anyone talk about her mother's work this way. At home, Maria always told Sophia that all work was important, that helping other people was always valuable, no matter what kind of work it was. The man continued talking, and his words got meaner and meaner. "People like your mother come to this country and take jobs away from real Americans. They don't belong in places like this. They should stay where they came from." Sophia did not understand all of the man's words, but she understood that he was saying hurtful things about her and her mother. She understood that he thought they did not belong here. "We do belong here," Sophia said, her voice shaking. "This is our home now." "My mama works here every day. She has permission to be here." The man shook his head. "Permission," he said mockingly. "You think having permission means you belong? You think cleaning toilets gives you the right to be in a building like this?" More people had gathered now. The lobby was getting crowded. Some people looked angry at the man for being so mean to a little girl. Others looked uncomfortable and wanted to leave, but most just watched and listened. "And now your mother brings you here every day," the man continued. "A place of business is not a daycare center. Children don't belong here, especially children who steal." "I didn't steal anything," Sophia cried loudly. "I found your keys and I was giving them back to you." The man held up his keys and shook them at Sophia. "These keys are worth more money than your mother makes in a month," he said. "Did you think you could sell them? Did you think no one would notice?" Sophia was crying so hard now that she could barely speak. "I don't want your keys," she sobbed. "I just wanted to help you." But the man would not stop. He seemed to enjoy making Sophia cry. He seemed to enjoy having an audience watching him. "This is exactly the problem," he said to the crowd of people. "We let people like this into our country, into our buildings, and look what happens. They teach their children that it's okay to steal." An older woman in the crowd made a disapproving sound. "She's just a child," she said quietly to the person next to her. The man heard her and turned in her direction. "Just a child?" he said loudly. She's old enough to know right from wrong. She's old enough to know that stealing is wrong. Sophia felt like she was drowning in sadness and fear. Everyone was looking at her. Everyone was listening to this man say terrible things about her and her mother. She wanted to run away, but her legs felt too weak to move. "I want my mama," Sophia whispered. The man heard her and laughed. "Your mama can't help you now," he said. "Your mama should have taught you better. But I guess people like her don't know how to raise children properly." Sophia felt anger mixing with her sadness. This man could say mean things about her, but she would not let him say mean things about her mother. Maria was the best mother in the world. "Don't say bad things about my mama," Sophia said, her voice stronger than before. "She's a good person. She takes care of me and she works hard every day." The man stepped closer to Sophia. He was so tall that his shadow covered her completely. "Don't you dare raise your voice too?" "Me, little girl," he said in a threatening voice. "You and your mother are guests in this country, guests in this building, and guests who'd know their place." Sophia backed away from him until she bumped into her chair. She sat down heavily, her whole body shaking. She had never been so scared in her life. She had never been treated so badly by anyone. The man looked around at all the people watching. He seemed proud of himself. He seemed to think he had done something good by yelling at an 8-year-old girl. "This is what happens when we don't have proper security," he said to the crowd. "Anyone can walk in here. Anyone can bring their children here. And then we act surprised when things go missing." Sophia buried her face in her hands and cried. She had never felt so small and helpless in her life. She wanted her mother more than anything in the world. She wanted to go home to their small apartment where she was safe and loved. Upstairs, Maria was cleaning the bathrooms on the 8th floor. She had no idea that her daughter was downstairs being humiliated by a cruel man. She had no idea that their peaceful life was falling apart in the fancy lobby of the Grandview office complex. The man was still talking, still saying hurtful things, still enjoying the attention from the crowd. But he did not know that someone was watching him very carefully. Someone who had seen everything that had happened. Someone who was about to change everything. Maria was on the 8th floor, cleaning the last bathroom of the day, when she heard loud voices coming from downstairs. At first, she thought it was just the normal sounds of people leaving work. The building was always noisy in the evening, as everyone went home, but something about the voices seemed different tonight. One voice was much louder than the others. It sounded angry. Maria paused in her cleaning and listened more carefully. She could not make out the words, but she could tell that someone was very upset. Maria felt worried. She hoped there was not any trouble in the building. She always tried to stay away from problems. She just wanted to do her work quietly and take care of Sophia. The angry voice got louder. Now Maria could hear it more clearly, even from 8 floors up. Her heart started to beat faster. Something was definitely wrong. Maria put down her cleaning supplies and walked to the hallway. The sound was coming from the lobby downstairs. She could hear many people talking at once. It sounded like a crowd had gathered. Then Maria heard something that made her blood turn cold. She heard a small voice crying. A voice she knew better than any other voice in the world. It was Sophia. Maria dropped everything and ran to the elevator. Her hands were shaking as she pressed the button. The elevator seemed to take forever to come. When the doors finally opened, Maria rushed inside and pressed the button for the lobby. As the elevator went down, Maria could hear the voices getting louder and louder. She could hear Sophia crying. She could hear the angry man shouting. Maria's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might jump out of her chest. The elevator doors opened and Maria saw a crowd of people in the lobby. They were all looking at something in the center of the crowd. Maria pushed her way through the people, saying, excuse me, in her broken English. When she reached the center of the crowd, Maria saw Sophia sitting in the big leather chair, crying with her face in her hands. Standing over her was a tall man in an expensive suit. His face was red and he was still talking loudly. Sophia. Maria called out and ran to her daughter. Sophia looked up and saw her mother. Mama! She cried and jumped up from the chair to hug Maria. Sophia was shaking and her face was wet with tears. Maria held Sophia tight and looked up at the angry man. "What happened?" Maria asked. Her English was not perfect, but she could speak enough to ask questions. The man looked down at Maria with the same cold, angry eyes he had used on Sophia. "Your daughter was trying to steal my car keys," he said loudly, so everyone could hear. "No," Maria said immediately. "Sophia would never steal anything. Never." The man held up his keys. "I found her holding these," he said. "My expensive car?" "Keys. She was trying to take them." Maria looked at Sophia, who was still crying. "Sophia, tell me what happened," Maria said in Spanish. Through her tears, Sophia told her mother the whole story. She explained how she saw the man looking for his keys, how the keys fell out of his pocket right next to her chair, how she picked them up to give them back to him, how he started yelling at her and calling her a thief. Maria listened to every word. Her daughter had always been honest with her. Sophia had never lied, not even about small things. Maria knew Sophia was telling the truth. Maria looked up at the man again. "She was helping you," Maria said. "She found your keys and was giving them back." The man shook his head. "That's not what I saw," he said. "I saw her holding my keys. I saw her trying to steal them." "She is 8 years old," Maria said, her voice getting stronger. "She's a good girl. She would not steal." Some of the people in the crowd started to whisper among themselves. A few of them nodded their heads, agreeing with Maria, but the angry man did not care what anyone else thought. 8 years old is old enough to know right from wrong, he said. "But I guess some parents don't teach their children properly." When the man said this, Maria felt anger rising in her chest. She had spent 8 years teaching Sophia to be kind, honest, and respectful. She had worked so hard to give Sophia a good life and good values. "I teach my daughter very well," Maria said, standing up taller. "I teach her to help people. I teach her to be kind. I teach her to do the right thing." The man laughed his mean laugh. "The right thing?" he said. "The right thing would be keeping your child at home instead of bringing her to a place of business every day." "I work here," Maria said simply. "I have to work to take care of my daughter. She waits for me quietly. She never causes trouble." "Until today," the man said. "Until today when she tried to steal my keys." "She did not steal," Maria said, her voice louder than before. Some people in the crowd looked surprised to hear the quiet cleaning lady speaking so forcefully. The man stepped closer to Maria and Sophia. "Look around you," he said, gesturing to the fancy lobby. "Look at this building. Look at these people. Do you really think you belong here? Do you really think your daughter belongs here?" Maria felt hurt by his words, but she also felt proud. "I work here every day," she said. "I clean these offices. I make this building beautiful for everyone who works here. One belong here because I work here." "You work here," the man said with disgust. "You push a mop around. That doesn't make you belong here. That doesn't give you the right to bring your children here." Some of the people watching started to look uncomfortable. They could see that the man was being very cruel to Maria and Sophia, but most of them still did not say anything to stop him. "Oh, work is important," Maria said quietly but firmly. "My work helps people. I am proud of my work." The man shook his head. "Proud?" he said. "You're proud of cleaning toilets? You're proud of emptying trash cans? That's not real work. That's just what people do when they can't get a real job." Maria felt her cheeks get hot. She was getting angry, but she was also scared. She needed this job. She could not afford to lose this job. But she also could not let this man continue to say such hurtful things about her and Sophia. "My work is real work," Maria said. "I work hard every day. I take care of my daughter. I pay my bills. I am a good person." "Good person?" the man said sarcastically. "Good people don't raise children who steal." "My daughter did not steal anything," Maria said loudly. Several people in the crowd turned to look at her. They had never heard Maria raise her voice before. Sophia was still holding on to Maria's arm. She had stopped crying, but she was listening to everything the man was saying about her and her mother. She could see that her mother was getting upset. "Mama," Sophia whispered in Spanish, "let's just go home." But Maria could not just walk away. This man had hurt her daughter. He had made Sophia cry. He had said terrible things about both of them. Maria was not going to let him get away with it. "You made my daughter cry," Maria said to the man. "You scared her. You said mean things to her. She is just a child." "She's a thief," the man said again. "And you're the mother who raised a thief." That was too much for Maria. Her daughter was the most important thing in her life. Sophia was good and kind and honest. No one was going to call Sophia a thief, especially not this cruel man. "Stop," Maria said loudly. "Stop saying those things about my daughter. She is not a thief. She is a good girl. She was trying to help you." The man looked surprised. He had not expected the quiet cleaning lady to stand up to him. He had expected her to be scared and to apologize and to take her daughter and leave, but Maria was not going to apologize for something Sophia did not do. She was not going to let this man bully her daughter. She was going to protect Sophia. No matter what happened, the lobby had become completely quiet. Everyone was watching Maria and the man. No one knew what was going to happen next. No one knew that someone else was watching too. Someone who had seen the whole thing. Someone who was about to step in and change everything. A calm voice cut through the tension in the lobby like a knife through butter. "Excuse me, what exactly is going on here?" Everyone turned to see where the voice was coming from. A woman in a white doctor's coat was walking toward the crowd. She was tall and confident, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Her black hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and she carried herself with the authority of someone used to being in charge. The angry man looked at her with surprise. He had been so focused on yelling at Maria and Sophia that he had not noticed the doctor approaching. "This is none of your business," he said rudely. The woman smiled, but it was not a warm smile. "Actually, it is my business," she said. "I work in this building. I have an office on the 3rd floor. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Chun." Some of the people in the crowd recognized her name. Dr. Chun was well known in the building. She was a cardiologist who had her medical practice on the 3rd floor. She was respected and liked by everyone who knew her. "I've been watching this situation unfold for the past 10 minutes, Dr. Chun continued, "and I have to say I'm very concerned about what I've seen." The angry man's face got red again. "Concerned about what?" he demanded. "Concerned that we caught a little thief in the act?" Dr. Chun looked at Sophia, who was still holding on to her mother's arm. Sophia's face was red and puffy from crying. Her small body was still shaking from fear and sadness. "I'm concerned, Doctor," Chun said slowly, "about a grown man screaming at a frightened child in a public place. She was stealing my car keys." The man shouted. Dr. Chun held up her hand to stop him from talking. "I heard what you said, but I also saw what actually happened. And what I saw was very different from what you're describing." The man looked confused. "What do you mean you saw what happened?" Dr. Chin pointed toward the elevators. "My office has large windows that face this lobby. I was finishing up some paperwork when I heard shouting. I looked down and saw the entire incident." The crowd of people became very quiet. They all wanted to hear what the doctor had to say. Maria held Sophia closer to her, hoping that someone was finally going to tell the truth about what had happened. "I saw you walking across the lobby, talking loudly on your phone," Dr. Chun said to the man. "I saw you drop your keys as you passed the chair where this little girl was sitting. I saw her pick up the keys and start to walk toward you to return." The man's face was getting redder and redder. "That's not what happened," he said, but his voice was not as confident as before. "And then," Dr. Chun continued, "I saw you turn around and immediately start accusing her of stealing. You didn't give her a chance to explain. You didn't listen. When she tried to tell you that she found your keys, you just started yelling at her." Some of the people in the crowd began to whisper to each other. They were starting to understand that the man had made a mistake. A big mistake. Dr. Chun looked around at all the people watching. I've been working in this building for 5 years, she said. I've seen this little girl sitting in this lobby almost every day for the past 3 years. She does her homework quietly. She never bothers anyone. She's polite and well-behaved. Sophia looked up at Dr. Chun with surprise. She had never talked to the doctor before, but Dr. Chun knew who she was. Dr. Chun had been watching her all this time. In fact, Dr. Chun continued, I've seen her help other children with their homework when their parents work late. I've seen her pick up trash that other people have dropped. I've never seen her do anything wrong. Not once. The angry man was starting to look less confident. Some of the people in the crowd were now looking at him with disapproval instead of curiosity. But even if I hadn't seen what happened, Dr. Chun said, your behavior would still be completely unacceptable. You're a grown adult screaming at an 8-year-old child. You've made her cry. You've frightened her. You've said hurtful things about her and her mother. She had my keys, the man said weakly, because she found them and was returning them. To you, Dr. Chun said firmly, which is exactly what any honest person would do. Which is exactly what her mother taught her to do. Dr. Chun turned to look at Maria. You work very hard, she said to Maria in a kind voice. I see you here every day, cleaning and taking care of this building. You do excellent work and you're raising a wonderful daughter. Maria felt tears coming to her eyes, but these were different tears. These were tears of relief and gratitude. Finally, someone was standing up for her and Sophia. Finally, someone was telling the truth. Thank you, Maria said quietly to Dr. Chun. Dr. Chun turned back to the angry man. What's your name? She asked him. The man looked uncomfortable. Morrison, James Morrison. Well, Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said, I think you owe this little girl and her mother an apology. A big apology. Morrison looked around at all the people, watching him. Many of them were nodding their heads, agreeing with Dr. Chun. He could see that they were no longer on his side. I don't owe them anything, Morrison said, but his voice was much quieter. Now Dr. Chun stepped closer to Morrison. You accused an innocent child of stealing. You made her cry. You said terrible things about her family. You embarrassed them in front of all these people. Of course you owe them an apology. Morrison looked away from Dr. Chun. He looked at Sophia, who was still clinging to her mother. He looked at Maria, who was staring at him with hurt and anger. In her eyes, for a moment, it seemed like Morrison might apologize. Some of the people in the crowd were waiting to see what he would do. Maybe he would realize his mistake. Maybe he would say he was sorry, but Morrison's pride was stronger than his conscience. Instead of apologizing, he became angry again. I don't have to listen to this, he said loudly. I know what I saw. I don't care what anyone else says. Dr. Chun shook her head sadly. Mr. Morrison, I'm very disappointed in you. Your behavior tonight has been cruel and unfair. You owe these people an apology and you should be ashamed of yourself. Morrison's face turned even redder. His hands started to shake. Don't tell me what I should be ashamed of, he said angrily. I work hard for my money. I have the right to protect my property. You have the right to protect your property, Dr. Chun agreed. But you don't have the right to accuse innocent people of crimes they didn't commit. You don't have the right to bully children. Morrison was breathing harder now. His anger was making his heart beat faster. His face was getting redder and redder with each passing second. I don't have to stand here and listen to this, Morrison said, his voice getting louder again. I know what happened. I know what I saw. And I don't care what some doctor thinks. She saw from her window. Dr. Chun was watching Morrison carefully. She had noticed something that worried her. Morrison's face was not just red from anger anymore. It was a different kind of red, a dangerous kind of red. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said in her professional doctor voice, I think you need to calm down. You're getting very upset, and that's not good for your health. But Morrison was beyond listening to reason. His anger had taken control of him completely. He was furious at Dr. Chun for contradicting him. He was furious at Maria and Sophia for causing trouble. He was furious at all the people who were looking at him with disapproval. Don't tell me to calm down, Morrison shouted. His voice echoed through the lobby. I'll get as upset as I want to get. This is America. I have the right to be angry. Dr. June took a step closer to Morrison. Her medical training was telling her that something was very wrong. Morrison's breathing was too fast. His color was too red. His hands were shaking too much. Mr. Morrison, she said quietly, I really think you should sit down and take some deep breaths. But Morrison was not going to listen to anyone. His rage was consuming him, and in 10 seconds, that rage was going to put everyone in the lobby in danger. Dr. Chin watched Morrison's face carefully. She had been a doctor for 15 years, and she had learned to read the signs when something was wrong with a person's body. What she saw now worried her very much. Morrison's face was not just red from anger. It was the deep, dark red that she had seen in patients who were in serious medical trouble. His breathing was too fast and too shallow. Small beads of sweat were forming on his forehead even though the lobby was cool. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said again, her voice calm but firm. I need you to stop shouting and listen to me for a moment. But Morrison was not interested in listening. He was still angry about being contradicted in front of all these people. He was still convinced that Sophia had tried to steal his keys, and he was furious that no one believed him. I don't have to listen to you or anyone else, Morrison said, his voice getting louder. I know what I saw, and I'm not going to let some bleeding heart doctor tell me I'm wrong. Dr. Ching noticed that Morrison's hands were not just shaking from anger now. There was a slight tremor that suggested something more serious. His left hand kept opening and closing into a fist, as if he was trying to control some kind of pain or discomfort. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said, stepping closer to him, I want to talk to you about what you think you saw. But first I want to share something with you about this little girl. Morrison looked at her with suspicious eyes. What about her? Dr. Chun smiled at Sophia, who was still holding on to her mother's arm. I told you that I've been watching from my office window for 3 years. What I didn't tell you is how carefully I've been watching. Some of the people in the crowd leaned in closer to hear what Dr. Chun was going to say. They could tell that she had something important to tell them. You see, Dr. Chun continued, my office window gives me a perfect view of this lobby. And over the past 3 years, I've seen some remarkable things. Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead with his sleeve. I don't care what you think. You've seen, he said, but his voice was not as strong as before. Dr. Chun ignored his rudeness and continued talking. I've seen this little girl help elderly people who drop things on the floor. I've seen her share her snacks with other children who are hungry. I've seen her comfort younger children who are scared while their parents work late. Sophia looked up at Dr. Chun with amazement. She had no idea that anyone had been watching her or noticing the small kind things she did. She had just been trying to help people, the way her mother had taught her. Last month, Dr. Chun said, I saw her find a wallet that someone had dropped near the fountain. Do you know what she did with it? Morrison did not answer, but some of the people in the crowd were listening intently. She took it to the security desk immediately, Dr. Chun said. She didn't open it. She didn't look inside it. She just wanted to make sure it got back to the person who lost it. Maria squeezed Sophia's hand. She was proud of her daughter, but she had never heard about the wallet before. Sophia had never mentioned it because, to Sophia, it was just the right thing to do. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Chun continued, I saw her notice that one of the plants near the elevators was dying because someone had accidentally knocked over its water dish. She went to the bathroom, filled a cup with water, and watered the plant. No one asked her to do it. No one was watching her. She just saw something that needed to be done, and she did it. More people in the crowd began to nod their heads. They were starting to understand what kind of person Sophia really was. Morrison was still breathing hard, and the red color in his face was getting darker. So what? He said angrily. That doesn't change what happened today. That doesn't change the fact that I caught her with my keys. Dr. Chun looked at Morrison with the same professional expression she used when delivering difficult news to patients. Mr. Morrison, you didn't catch her with your keys. You caught her returning your keys to you? That's not what happened. Morrison insisted, but some of the confidence had gone out of his voice. Dr. Chun pulled out her cell phone. Actually, Mr. Morrison, I can prove exactly what happened. Morrison looked confused. What do you mean? I mean, Dr. Chun said, that I was so concerned about your behavior that I started recording the incident on my phone. I have video of everything that happened. The crowd of people became completely silent. Even Morrison stopped talking for a moment. Dr. Chun held up her phone so everyone could see the screen. I started recording when you began shouting at Sophia. The video clearly shows her holding your keys out toward you, trying to return them. It shows her telling you that she found them. It shows you snatching them away from her and then continuing to yell at her. Morrison's face somehow managed to get even redder. You can't record people without their permission, he said weakly. Actually, Dr. Chun replied, this is a public lobby. Anyone can record here. And I'm very glad I did, because now we have proof of what really happened. Some of the people in the crowd started to murmur to each other. They were talking about how wrong Morrison had been and how badly he had treated Sophia and Maria. Dr. Chun looked around at all the people watching. The video shows something else too, she said. Something that concerns me even more than Mr. Morrison's behavior toward this child. Morrison looked at her with suspicious eyes. What are you talking about now? I'm talking about your health. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said seriously, I'm talking about the fact that your face has been getting redder and redder over the past few minutes. I'm talking about the fact that you're sweating and breathing hard. I'm talking about the fact that your left hand keeps clenching into a fist. Morrison looked down at his left hand. He had not realized he was doing that. So what? He said. So what if I'm angry? Angry people get red faces. Dr. Chun shook her head. Mr. Morrison, I'm a cardiologist, a heart doctor, and what I'm seeing right now are the warning signs of a serious medical emergency. Some of the people in the crowd took a step back. They could hear the concern in Dr. Chun's voice, and they could see that she was worried about something more than just Morrison's bad behavior. Morrison laughed, but it was a strained, uncomfortable laugh. You're just trying to change the subject, he said. You're trying to make me forget about what that little girl did. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said, her voice becoming more urgent, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Your blood pressure is dangerously high right now. Your heart is working much too hard. If you don't calm down immediately, you could be in serious danger. But Morrison was beyond listening to medical advice. His anger and pride were more important to him than his health. Don't try to scare me, he said. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine. Dr. Chen could see that Morrison's breathing was becoming even more labored. His color was changing from red to a darker, more alarming shade. She had seen this before in her practice, and she knew what was coming next. Mr. Morrison, she said urgently, please sit down right now. Please try to calm down and breathe slowly. But Morrison was not going to sit down. He was not going to calm down. He was not going to listen to anyone. His rage had taken complete control of him, and in just a few more seconds, that rage was going to have deadly consequences. Morrison opened his mouth to shout something else. At Dr. Chun, at Sophia, at Maria, at all the people watching him. But the words never came out. Instead, Morrison's eyes went wide with shock and fear. His left hand flew to his chest. His breathing stopped completely for a moment and then started again in short, desperate gasps. Dr. Chun had seen this exact moment many times before in her career. She knew exactly what was happening to James Morrison, and she knew that the next few minutes would determine whether he lived or died. Morrison's eyes went wide with terror. His left hand pressed hard against his chest as a sharp, crushing pain spread across his heart like fire. The angry red color in his face suddenly changed to a frightening gray-white. I can't... Morrison gasped, trying to speak but unable to get enough air into his lungs. I can't breathe. Dr. Chun moved immediately into action. All her years of medical training kicked in at once. She had seen hundreds of heart attacks, and she knew that every second counted now. Someone call 911 right now. Dr. Chun shouted to the crowd of people. Her calm, professional voice cut through the panic that was starting to spread through the lobby. A woman in a business suit pulled out her cell phone and dialed 911 with shaking fingers. Other people in the crowd backed away, giving Dr. Chun more room to work. Morrison tried to take another step, but his legs suddenly felt weak and shaky. His face was covered with sweat now, and he was breathing in short, desperate gasps that sounded painful. "Help me," Morrison whispered, looking at Dr. Chun with frightened eyes. All of his anger was gone now. All of his pride was gone. He was just a scared man who knew something terrible was happening to his body. Dr. Chun caught Morrison as he started to fall forward. "I've got you," she said in a calm, reassuring voice. "I'm going to help you. Just try to stay calm and breathe slowly." She guided Morrison to the marble floor of the lobby, helping him lie down on his back. Morrison's breathing was getting worse. His chest was rising and falling rapidly, like he had just run a long race. "My chest," Morrison said weakly. "It feels like something heavy is sitting on my chest. It hurts so much." Dr. Chen knelt beside Morrison and immediately began checking his vital signs. She pressed her fingers against his wrist to feel his pulse. It was racing much too fast and felt irregular, like his heart was skipping beats. "Mr. Morrison, you're having a heart attack," Dr. Chun said clearly. "But I'm a heart doctor, and I'm right here with you. I'm going to take care of you." Morrison's eyes filled with fear. "Am I going to die?" he asked in a small voice. "Not if I can help it," Dr. Chun replied firmly. "But I need you to focus on breathing slowly and staying as calm as possible." The woman who had called 911 came over to Dr. Chun. "The ambulance is on its way," she said. "They said it would be about 5 minutes." Dr. Chun nodded. 5 minutes. Felt like a very long time when someone was having a heart attack, but she had dealt with much worse situations before. Morrison's breathing suddenly became even more difficult. His face was turning a bluish color around his lips, which meant he was not getting enough oxygen. "I can't breathe," Morrison gasped again. "I can't get enough air." Dr. Chun looked at Morrison's chest and saw that it had stopped moving up and down. His eyes rolled back, and he became unconscious. "He's gone into cardiac arrest," Dr. Chun announced to the crowd. "His heart has stopped beating." Some people in the crowd gasped. A few people started crying. Everyone realized that they were watching someone's life hanging in the balance. Dr. Chun immediately tilted Morrison's head back to open his airway. She checked his mouth to make sure nothing was blocking his breathing. Then she placed her hands on Morrison's chest and began CPR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dr. Chun counted out loud as she pushed hard and fast on Morrison's chest. She was trying to pump his blood manually since his heart had stopped doing its job after 30 chest compressions. Dr. Chen tilted Morrison's head back again and gave him 2 rescue breaths, breathing air into his lungs. Then she went back to chest. Compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She counted again. The compressions had to be deep and steady to have any chance of keeping Morrison alive. Maria was watching all of this happen with wide, frightened eyes. She had never seen anyone have a heart attack before. Sophia was clinging to her mother's arm, too scared to look directly at what was happening. "Is the man going to be okay, Mama?" Sophia whispered in Spanish. "I don't know, Mia," Maria replied quietly. "The doctor is trying to help him." Dr. Chen continued the CPR, switching between chest compressions and rescue breathing. It was hard physical work, and she was starting to breathe heavily herself. "Come on, Mr. Morrison," Dr. Chen said as she worked. "Come back to us. Don't give up." Some of the people in the crowd were praying. Others were just watching in stunned silence. Everyone understood that they were witnessing something very serious and very frightening after what felt like forever. Dr. Chin pressed her fingers against Morrison's neck to check for a pulse. Nothing. She immediately went back to doing chest compressions. 30 more, she said to herself, counting each compression. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just as Dr. Chun was finishing her second round of CPR, the lobby doors burst open and 3 paramedics rushed in with their equipment. They were carrying a stretcher, medical bags, and a defibrillator machine. "What do we have?" The lead paramedic asked as he knelt down beside Dr. Chun. James Morrison, probably late 40s, Dr. Chun replied without stopping the chest compressions. Massive heart attack followed by cardiac arrest. He's been down for about 3 minutes. I've been doing CPR. The paramedics immediately took over. One of them continued the chest compressions while another prepared the defibrillator machine. The third paramedic started in 4-line in Morrison's arm. Clear! The paramedic with the defibrillator shouted. Everyone moved away from Morrison as the electric shock was delivered to his chest. Morrison's body jumped from the shock, but there was still no pulse. Again, the lead paramedic said. They charged up the defibrillator and delivered another shock. This time, Morrison's body jumped and then began breathing on its own. The paramedic checked his pulse and found a weak but steady heartbeat. We've got him back, the paramedic announced. But we need to get him to the hospital immediately. The paramedics worked quickly to get Morrison ready for transport. They put an oxygen mask over his face and connected him to a portable heart monitor. The machine showed that his heartbeat was still very irregular and weak. As they lifted Morrison onto the stretcher, he briefly opened his eyes. He looked confused and scared, but he was conscious. Dr. Chun walked alongside the stretcher as the paramedics headed toward the door. Mr. Morrison, can you hear me? She asked. Morrison looked at her with unfocused eyes. He tried to speak, but the oxygen mask made it difficult. Don't try to talk, Dr. Chun said gently. You've had a heart attack, but you're going to be okay. The paramedics are taking you to the hospital. As the paramedics wheeled Morrison toward the ambulance, he managed to turn his head slightly. Through the doors of the lobby, he could see Maria holding Sophia close to her. Sophia was watching him with concerned eyes, even though he had been so cruel to her. For the first time that evening, Morrison felt something other than anger. He felt shame, he felt regret. He felt grateful to be alive. The paramedics loaded Morrison into the ambulance and drove away with sirens blaring. The lobby became quiet again, but everyone who had witnessed what happened was deeply shaken. Dr. Chun stood in the middle of the lobby, still breathing hard from performing CPR. Her white doctor's coat was wrinkled and her hair had come loose from its neat bun. Maria approached Dr. Chun with Sophia still holding her hand. Thank you, Maria said simply. Thank you for saving him. Dr. Chun looked at Maria and Sophia with tired but kind eyes. He was very cruel to you and your daughter, she said. But every life is worth saving. Sophia looked up at Dr. Chun with admiration. You're a hero, Sophia said quietly. Dr. Chun smiled and knelt down to Sophia's level. No, sweetie. You're the hero. You were trying to help someone, even when that someone was not kind to you. That's what real heroes do. 1 week later, Maria was cleaning the offices on the 10th floor just like she did every day. But everything felt different now. Ever since the night when Mr. Morrison had his heart attack, people in the building looked at her differently. They looked at Sophia differently too. The security guards now smiled and said good morning to Maria when she came to work. The receptionist always waved at Sophia when she sat in the lobby doing her homework. Some of the office workers had even started bringing Sophia small treats and asking about her schoolwork, but the biggest change was in how Maria felt about herself. For 3 years, she had tried to be invisible in this building. She had tried to clean quietly and not bother anyone. She had taught Sophia to be quiet and stay out of the way. Now, Maria understood that being invisible was not always the right thing to do. Sometimes good people needed to stand up for themselves. Sometimes they needed to speak the truth. Even when it was scary, Sophia was sitting in her usual chair in the lobby, working on her science homework. She was reading about the human heart and how it pumps blood through the body. After seeing what happened to Mr. Morrison, Sophia was very interested in learning about hearts and how to keep them healthy. At 6 o'clock, the elevator doors opened, and someone stepped out that Sophia did not expect to see. It was Mr. Morrison. He looked very different than he had a week ago. His face was pale instead of red. He moved slowly and carefully. He was wearing casual clothes instead of his expensive suit, but the biggest difference was in his eyes. The anger that had been there before was completely gone. Morrison looked around the lobby until he saw Sophia. He walked slowly toward her chair. Sophia felt scared for a moment, remembering how mean he had been to her. But something about his expression told her that he was different now. "Hello," Morrison said quietly when he reached Sophia's chair. "Do you remember me?" Sophia nodded her head. "Yes, sir, you're Mr. Morrison. You had a heart attack." Morrison sat down in the chair next to Sophia's. He moved carefully, like someone who was still recovering from being very sick. "Yes, I did have a heart attack," Morrison said. "And I wanted to come here to talk to you about what happened before that." Sophia closed her science book and looked at Morrison with curious eyes. She was not scared of him anymore. He seemed sad and tired, but not angry. "The doctors tell me that I almost died that night," Morrison continued. "They tell me that if Dr. Chun had not been there to help me, I probably would have died." Sophia nodded. "Dr. Chun is very smart. She saved your life." Morrison looked down at his hands. "But Dr. Chun was not the only one who helped save my life that night." Sophia looked confused. "What do you mean?" Morrison reached into his pocket and pulled out his car keys. The same keys that had caused all the trouble a week ago. "These keys," he said, holding them up. "Do you remember what happened with these keys?" Sophia nodded. "They fell out of your pocket. I picked them up to give them back to you." Morrison's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, that's exactly what happened. And I accused you of trying to steal them. I said terrible things to you and your mother. I made you cry." Sophia did not know what to say. She remembered how scared and sad she had felt that night. "I was wrong," Morrison said, his voice shaking with emotion. "I was completely wrong about everything. You were trying to help me, and I was cruel to you. I am so sorry." Sophia looked at Morrison with her big, kind eyes. "It's okay," she said simply. "You were sick. Sick people sometimes say things they don't mean." Morrison was amazed by Sophia's kindness. After everything he had put her through, she was willing to forgive him. Just then, Maria came out of the elevator. She had finished her evening work and was coming to pick up Sophia. When Maria saw Morrison sitting next to her daughter, she felt worried and protective. Morrison saw Maria and immediately stood up. "Mrs. Santos," he said respectfully, "I was hoping I would see you tonight." Maria walked over to Sophia and put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Are you bothering my daughter?" she asked Morrison. "No, Mama," Sophia said quickly. "Mr. Morrison was apologizing to me." Morrison looked at Maria with the same sad, regretful expression he had shown Sophia. "Mrs. Santos, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. What I said to you and your daughter last week was wrong. It was cruel, it was unforgivable." Maria studied Morrison's face. She could see that he was sincere. She could see that he was truly sorry for what he had done. "I have been in the hospital for a week," Morrison continued. "I had time to think about many things. I thought about how I treated you and Sophia. I thought about the kind of person I had become." Morrison sat back down in his chair. "The doctors told me that my heart attack was caused by stress and anger. They told me that if I don't change the way I live, if I don't stop being so angry all the time, I will probably have another heart attack, and next time I might not be so lucky." Maria sat down in another chair nearby. She was listening carefully to what Morrison was saying. "I realized something while I was in the hospital," Morrison said. "I realized that you and Sophia are not the problem in this building. I am the problem. I have been angry and mean to people for so long that I forgot how to be kind." Sophia reached over and gently patted Morrison's hand. "You can learn to be kind again," she said. "My mama always says it's never too late to be a better person." Morrison smiled for the first time since Sophia had met him. It was a real smile, not a mean or sarcastic one. "Your mama is very wise," Morrison said, "and you are a very special little girl. I watched you forgive me, even though I was horrible to you. I watched you show concern for me, even though I had hurt you." Morrison turned to Maria. "Mrs. Santos, your daughter is remarkable. You have raised an incredible child. She is kind, honest, and forgiving. She has more character in her 8 years than I have shown in my entire adult life." Maria felt tears coming to her eyes. "Thank you," she said quietly. Morrison reached into his other pocket and pulled out an envelope. I want to give this to Sophia, he said, handing the envelope to Maria. Maria opened the envelope and found a check inside. It was for $5,000. Double quotes, Mr. Morrison, Maria said, shocked by the amount. This is too much. We cannot accept this. Morrison shook his head. Please accept it. It's not enough to make up for what I did, but I want Sophia to have it for her education. I want to help pay for her future. Sophia looked at the check with wide eyes. She had never seen so much money before. But that's not the only thing I wanted. To tell you, Morrison continued, I've been talking to my company about starting a scholarship program. A program to help the children of all the people who work to keep our buildings clean and safe. Maria looked amazed. A scholarship program? Morrison nodded. We want to help kids like Sophia go to college. We want to show that we value the work that people like you do every day. Sophia jumped up from her chair and hugged Morrison. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. You really are a good person after all. Morrison hugged Sophia back, tears streaming down his face. Thank you for teaching me how to be good again, Sophia. Thank you for showing me what kindness looks like. As they walked out of the building together that night, Morrison, Maria, and Sophia looked like an unlikely family. But they had learned something important about forgiveness, kindness, and second chances. Morrison kept his promise. The scholarship program helped dozens of children over the years, and Sophia was the first recipient, eventually becoming a doctor herself. Inspired by Dr. Chun's example, sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unexpected teachers, and sometimes a simple act of kindness can change everything.